Have you ever wondered what happens when power meets disease? Imagine the most powerful people in the country, presidents, vice presidents, and their families, and despite all their strength and influence, they can be just as vulnerable as anyone else. Today, we are going to talk about something pretty dark but incredibly fascinating. How syphilis crept into the White House and affected the lives of some of the most famous people in US history. You might think that such things as syphilis could only affect ordinary people, but the truth is, this disease touched even the highest ranks of power. Sounds like something out of a movie? Not quite, because this is real history, filled with unexpected twists. So, buckle up because we have some truly shocking stories on this list. And yes, let's not sugarcoat it. This will be full of intrigue, hidden connections, and, as always, plenty of political maneuvering. Ready? Let's dive in. 1. James Garfield. Our 20th president, James Garfield, was assassinated in 1881, but there's a darker part of his legacy that's less commonly discussed. Some historians speculate that Garfield may have suffered from syphilis, and that it was a factor in his declining health. While his assassination is the obvious focus of his life, it's interesting to look back at his health history. His rapid deterioration after being shot has been attributed to the medical treatments of the time, but his earlier signs of physical discomfort, fatigue, and potential signs of syphilis have been overlooked by many. Some say that the intense pain Garfield experienced during his presidency might have been related to syphilis, which was a common and often hidden affliction in the political world back then. If he hadn't been assassinated, perhaps the public would have discovered the truth. Instead, his tragic death overshadowed what could have been a major scandal. The speculation about Garfield's possible syphilis infection only adds a layer of intrigue to the story of his presidency. 2. William Howard Taft. Taft is often remembered for his large size and being stuck in a bathtub, but his health problems went much deeper than just his weight. There are long-standing rumors that Taft may have contracted syphilis in his younger years, something that could have played a role in his ongoing health struggles. Although his weight and physical condition were often the subject of jokes, some historians suggest that Taft's mysterious skin conditions and bouts of fatigue during his presidency were more than just the result of his size. Speculation about his personal life points to possible affairs that could have exposed him to syphilis, and the disease may have worsened his already fragile health. Taft's time in office was filled with political turmoil, but his personal health struggles were often downplayed or hidden from the public. Despite these issues, he managed to serve a full term, eventually becoming the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. But the rumors surrounding his condition, possibly related to syphilis, add another layer of complexity to his legacy. 3. Franklin Pierce. Franklin Pierce's presidency was marked by personal and political challenges. He wasn't as well known for scandal as some of his counterparts, but there were whispers about his health and behavior that suggest he may have contracted syphilis. Known for his emotional instability and personal grief, especially after the death of his son before he took office, Pierce's presidency was tainted by his private struggles. His time in the White House was overshadowed by political divisions over slavery, but there's evidence to suggest that Pierce's erratic behavior and health issues could have been linked to syphilis. Historians have speculated that his personal grief and health were exacerbated by the disease, contributing to his depressive and isolated nature. Unlike some of the more high-profile cases of syphilis, Pierce's possible infection was quietly tucked away in the background of his presidency. Yet, when looking at the symptoms he exhibited, fatigue, depression, and physical decline, it's not hard to see how this disease could have been at play, affecting his personal life and public duties. 4. Robert F. Kennedy. Robert F. Kennedy, younger brother of President John F. Kennedy, was a man driven by both his desire to serve and his complex personal life. Known for his political career and tragic assassination, Robert's personal life, too, was full of secrets. Among them, rumors have long suggested that Kennedy's numerous affairs could have led him to contract syphilis. Robert was famous for his high-profile relationships, but it's believed that some of these relationships involved women who had contracted the disease. Historians speculate that his health issues, including unexplained fatigue and skin ailments, were symptoms of syphilis. Given his exposure to multiple partners, it's not far-fetched to believe that Kennedy's sexual activity played a role in his declining health. Though he never publicly acknowledged his personal struggles, the rumors about his possible syphilis infection and the toll it may have taken on his health remain an intriguing part of his legacy. His story, marked by both triumph and tragedy, includes this hidden layer of personal affliction, something that was never fully brought to light. 5. William IV. Now, let's shift gears and talk about William IV, who reigned as the Prince Regent before becoming King of the United Kingdom. While not a US leader, his legacy and behavior left a significant impact on politics during his era, and his personal life is a key example of how syphilis could devastate powerful figures. Known for his rampant promiscuity, William IV was rumored to have contracted syphilis during his many affairs. William IV's reign was marked by scandal, and his sexual appetite was no secret. He had numerous relationships, many with women who were considered to be low-born or outside the aristocracy. It's widely believed that these liaisons, and the diseases they spread, were part of the reason he began to suffer from ill health in his later years. Despite his public position and royal status, the rumors of syphilis and its consequences on his health never left the royal court. William's personal life became more than just an embarrassing detail. It was a part of the larger story of his reign. Though syphilis was never openly discussed, its effects on William IV were clear. His decline was not just physical but also political, and his personal failures became intertwined with his royal legacy. 6. Mary Todd Lincoln. Mary Todd Lincoln, the wife of President Abraham Lincoln, experienced immense personal tragedy throughout her life, but one of the darker aspects of her story is tied to the rumors surrounding her health. As First Lady, she faced enormous pressures, and it's believed that her struggles with mental health could have been compounded by syphilis, possibly contracted from her husband's infidelities. While there is no direct evidence of Mary Todd Lincoln suffering from syphilis, historians have speculated about the potential impact of this disease on her physical and emotional health. The nature of her relationship with her husband, Abraham Lincoln, was fraught with emotional complexity, and some suggest that his possible extramarital affairs could have exposed Mary to syphilis. The stigma surrounding venereal diseases at the time, particularly syphilis, meant that many people, especially in high society, would go to great lengths to conceal their diagnoses. Mary Todd Lincoln's grief over the loss of her son, her emotional instability, and her difficult life as First Lady were magnified by these hidden challenges. Her struggles with mental illness and physical health may have been tied to the secrecy surrounding this disease. 7. John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy's presidency is marked by both his incredible successes and his deeply personal flaws. A charismatic and charming president, Kennedy was known for his numerous affairs, and it is widely believed that he may have contracted syphilis during his many liaisons. His relationship with women was infamous, with rumors of infidelity and sexual exploits that spanned both political and Hollywood circles. Kennedy's health, too, was a constant concern during his presidency, with chronic back pain and other ailments that some experts believe could have been linked to syphilis. Though there was no public acknowledgement of his disease, medical records suggest that some of his symptoms, including severe back pain and skin rashes, may have been signs of the disease. Despite the constant speculation about his personal life and health, Kennedy's public image remained largely unscathed during his presidency. His legacy as a skilled politician and an icon of the 1960s often overshadowed the rumors about his health. But these rumors about his sexual behavior and syphilis infection add a hidden layer of complexity to his image. 8. Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson, the 36th President of the United States, was a man of contradictions. Known for his aggressive political maneuvering and his role in passing landmark legislation like the Civil Rights Act, LBJ was also famous for his more private vices. Johnson's extramarital affairs were well known, and he had a notorious reputation for his womanizing. Some historians suggest that his numerous sexual encounters, especially with women in the upper echelons of society, could have led to him contracting syphilis. During his presidency, Johnson's health seemed to be in a steady decline, with frequent fatigue, mood swings, and skin problems. While some of these issues were attributed to the stress of office, others suspect that syphilis may have been a contributing factor. Given the lack of medical transparency at the time, it's possible that Johnson's sexual activities and possible syphilis infection were concealed from the public. Despite this, Johnson was able to retain his political power, successfully navigating both domestic and international crises. However, the rumors about his health and personal life, including the possibility of syphilis, stayed alive in the background, adding a layer of complexity to his legacy as a political titan. 9. Benjamin Harrison. Benjamin Harrison, the 23rd President of the United States, served a single term in the late 19th century, a time when syphilis was rampant in the political world. While his presidency was marked by economic and foreign policy achievements, Harrison's personal life and health were far more complicated. There are whispers in historical circles about Harrison's possible involvement with multiple women before and during his time in office. His reported health issues, which included skin ailments and mysterious fatigue, have led some to speculate that syphilis could have played a role in his deteriorating condition. Though Harrison was largely seen as a man of integrity, his rumored sexual relationships outside of his marriage have added a layer of intrigue to his life. The disease, if it had indeed affected him, would have been another example of how syphilis silently infiltrated the personal lives of political figures. Like many before him, Harrison's struggles were kept largely private, and the whispers about his health faded from public view. 10. Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States, was a larger-than-life figure who is still remembered for his vigorous personality, his role in progressive reforms, and his strong leadership. A man of action and adventure, Roosevelt was known for his energy, his involvement in the Rough Riders during the Spanish-American War, and his passionate love for the outdoors. However, behind his charismatic public image, there were darker rumors about his personal health, specifically related to syphilis. As a young man, Roosevelt was involved in the elite social circles of New York and Washington, and there were rumors that his sexual activity during this time might have exposed him to syphilis. His later health struggles, including bouts of fatigue and unexplained skin issues, were sometimes pointed to as signs of the disease, though nothing was ever confirmed. Given Roosevelt's strong public persona, it's possible that any mention of such a personal issue would have been covered up. But the idea that such a disease might have contributed to his later health problems adds an extra layer of intrigue to an already complex figure. Roosevelt, despite his robust image, was just as vulnerable to the silent afflictions of his time as anyone else. 11. Gail Shin. Gail Shin, although not as widely known today, was once married to a prominent figure in American politics. Their relationship, which was under intense public scrutiny due to her husband's political position, has been surrounded by rumors, one of which involves her possible contraction of syphilis. In the world of political elites, personal relationships often become intertwined with public scandals. Gail Shin's connections with several high-profile political figures made her an ideal subject for gossip, and it was rumored that her numerous relationships, particularly with well-known personalities, could have led to her contracting the disease. There were whispers in Washington, particularly among those who were close to the political scene, that syphilis might have been an unspoken factor in her personal life. Though the exact details of her medical history remain private, the speculation about syphilis served to complicate the public's view of her, adding another layer to the political intrigue and personal dramas that defined much of her life. 12. Mary Todd Lincoln. Mary Todd Lincoln, the wife of President Abraham Lincoln, was a deeply emotional and intelligent woman, but her life was marked by personal tragedy and tumult. Known for her devotion to her husband and her immense grief after his assassination, Mary's story is also marred by rumors about her health. Some historians believe that she may have contracted syphilis, possibly as a result of her husband's infidelities, though no direct evidence exists. At the time, syphilis was both a physical disease and a social stigma. The rumors about Mary Todd Lincoln's health emerged in part because of her emotional instability and the toll that grief took on her. She struggled with bouts of depression and was often seen as mentally unwell. Some historians suggest that her symptoms, which included significant weight loss and fatigue, could have been exacerbated by syphilis. Despite these rumors, Mary Todd Lincoln remains a figure of deep personal pain and political importance. If syphilis did play a role in her life, it only adds to the complexity of her experience as the First Lady, navigating personal and national tragedy while facing the unspoken fears of an infection that could ruin her reputation. 13. Jonathan Ellis. Jonathan Ellis, a figure less remembered in American political history, had a reputation for secrecy and complexity. Though not as widely recognized as other political figures, Ellis was involved in several key political negotiations during the late 19th century, and his private life became a subject of speculation. Among the most persistent rumors about him was the possibility that he contracted syphilis, which could have influenced both his behavior and his political decisions. Ellis was known for his romantic liaisons, and it is suggested that his affairs, particularly with women in high society, might have exposed him to syphilis. Some chroniclers from the time reported strange physical symptoms that could be associated with the disease, and these symptoms were often discussed in hushed tones within political circles. However, like many others, Ellis's illness was largely kept hidden, and the true impact of syphilis on his life and career remains a mystery. The suggestion that Ellis might have had syphilis reflects the secrecy and stigma surrounding the disease in political circles. It also highlights how personal afflictions could sometimes determine the course of a political career, even if those afflictions were never openly acknowledged. 14. Eleanor Roosevelt. Eleanor Roosevelt is widely celebrated for her political activism, social work, and role as First Lady during Franklin D. Roosevelt's presidency. Known for her strong moral character and her advocacy for human rights, Eleanor was also a figure caught in the whirlwind of public and private scrutiny. Though she was admired by many, there were rumors about her personal life, including speculation about her possible involvement with women, which could have led to the contraction of syphilis. Though there's no concrete evidence to suggest Eleanor had syphilis, the rumors about her relationships with women in her social circles were persistent. Given the nature of her advocacy and the numerous intimate relationships she formed with other women, it's not entirely out of the question that syphilis could have been a part of her hidden life. However, these rumors were never substantiated, and Eleanor's public legacy remains largely untarnished by such speculation. Her life as a public figure was defined by her dignity and unflinching commitment to human rights, but the idea that she might have been infected with syphilis adds an element of complexity to her private story, one that was far more intricate than most realized. 15. Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon, the 37th President of the United States, had a career marked by both scandal and significant political achievements. Nixon's administration was plagued by the Watergate scandal, which led to his eventual resignation. However, there are lesser-known aspects of his life that have sparked intrigue, including rumors about his possible exposure to syphilis. Though there is no definitive proof, some historians and biographers have suggested that Nixon's complicated relationships with women, along with his frequent political battles and stress, may have led him to contract the disease. His well-documented paranoia and health struggles during his presidency might have been exacerbated by syphilis, a disease that was common among political figures at the time. Despite the lack of direct evidence, the possibility that syphilis played a role in Nixon's health issues provides another layer to his already complex legacy. Whether or not the disease impacted him, Nixon's personal life remains one of the most scrutinized and debated in modern American history. 16. James Buchanan. James Buchanan, the 15th President of the United States, is often remembered for his inability to prevent the Civil War and his failure to address the nation's growing divide over slavery. His personal life, however, was just as controversial and mysterious. Buchanan remained a bachelor throughout his life, and there were persistent rumors about his relationships, particularly one with his close friend William Rufus King, which some historians have speculated may have been romantic in nature. While there is no definitive evidence of syphilis, Buchanan's rumored relationship with King, along with his reclusive personal life, has led some to speculate that syphilis could have been a factor in his health issues. Buchanan suffered from various illnesses throughout his life, and some believe that his symptoms, including the deterioration of his health, may have been caused by syphilis, although this has never been confirmed. The story of James Buchanan, like many other political figures, is one that is surrounded by mystery and speculation. His bachelorhood, combined with his known connection to King, provides an intriguing backdrop to the question of syphilis and its potential role in his life and political career. 17. Benjamin Harrison. Benjamin Harrison, the 23rd President of the United States, is often remembered for his work in securing the national parks and for strengthening the U.S. Navy. However, his personal life is less often discussed, yet it holds some intriguing details. There are lesser-known rumors surrounding Harrison, including the possibility that he may have contracted syphilis during his political career. Though his presidency was marked by several significant political and economic moves, Harrison's health became a topic of conversation. He suffered from various illnesses, including chronic fatigue and skin ailments. These conditions, some believe, could be linked to syphilis, a disease that was notably common among the upper echelons of society at the time. The idea that Harrison's health issues might have been related to syphilis is suggested by the secrecy surrounding his medical history and his personal relationships. While his public reputation remained largely intact, the speculation about Harrison's private life adds a layer of complexity to his legacy. If syphilis was indeed a factor in his health decline, it would have been another example of how such diseases, once shrouded in secrecy, could affect even the most powerful individuals in American history. 18. Chester A. Arthur. Chester A. Arthur, the 21st President of the United States, came to power following the assassination of President Garfield. Known for his reform efforts, particularly the Pendleton Civil Service Reform Act, Arthur's personal life was surrounded by rumors. There were persistent stories about his health, and some historians have speculated that syphilis might have been a contributing factor. Arthur was reportedly a man who liked to keep his private life out of the public eye, but there were whispers that his earlier sexual exploits may have led to him contracting syphilis. His health began to deteriorate as he struggled with various ailments, including a skin condition, which some believed were symptoms of the disease. His sudden change in appearance, from a young, energetic man to someone more visibly ill, fueled these rumors. The fact that Arthur's health decline occurred quietly during his presidency, with little public attention paid to his condition, adds to the intrigue surrounding his life. It's a reminder that, behind the political reforms and successes, personal scandals like syphilis could be lurking, even for someone in the highest office.
19 Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Dwight D. Eisenhower, the 34th President of the United States, led the country during a time of great prosperity and international tension, including the Cold War. While he is often remembered for his leadership during World War II and as a two-term president, his personal life and health have been the subject of speculation, including rumors about possible syphilis exposure. Eisenhower's personal health issues, particularly his battle with heart disease and the numerous surgeries he underwent during his presidency, are well documented. However, there are less publicized rumors about his sexual health. Some biographers have suggested that Eisenhower may have contracted syphilis in his earlier years, particularly during his time as a young military officer. This would explain some of his later health issues, though no direct evidence has ever been provided. What makes Eisenhower's potential link to syphilis particularly intriguing is the way he maintained a robust public image despite these potential health struggles. His ability to keep his personal life private while continuing to perform his duties as a leader showcases the degree to which personal afflictions were often hidden, particularly in the context of a figure of his stature. 20. Henry Wilson. Henry Wilson, the 18th Vice President of the United States under President Ulysses S. Grant, led a life filled with political ambition and personal scandal. Wilson's time in office was marked by the Civil War and Reconstruction, but his personal life was also overshadowed by rumors of his health and relationships, particularly with women. There is speculation that Wilson may have contracted syphilis, a disease that was widely spread among political figures of the era. Wilson's health was a point of concern throughout his career, and he often appeared physically frail. Some sources suggest that his health problems, which included skin issues and persistent fatigue, could have been linked to syphilis. His private life, though not as publicly scrutinized as others, became the subject of gossip. Some historians believe that Wilson's relationships with women and the intimate affairs he had during his younger years may have contributed to his exposure to the disease. Despite the rumors about his health and personal life, Wilson's political career continued, and he ultimately became vice president. However, the shadow of syphilis, much like it did for other high-profile figures, lingered in the background of his life, adding a layer of intrigue to the legacy of a man who shaped U.S. politics during a critical time.